Welcome to Territory Talk, presented by Abrasives, where real salespeople have real sales conversations. I'm your host, Matt Desrosiers.
And I'm your co-host, Jonathan Costa.
And let's talk territory. Episode number 3. What is going on, everybody? We have an absolutely spectacular episode lined up for you today. But before we introduce our very special guest, make sure if you're watching, you're subscribed to the Abrasives YouTube channel. Smash that like button. And in the comments, what we can do this week? What's your most embarrassing sales story? That's what I want to hear in the comments this week.
Like
most embarrassing. Let's have a little fun with it. And now, if you're listening, of course, rate and review, whether it be Apple's, Spotify, rate and review, help us get this podcast up to the top, number 1 in sales. That's what we want. Now, let's get into the guest for today's show. She is a sales and leadership development trainer. She helps sales teams increase revenue, shorten sales cycles, and close more deals. And she is the director of sales and marketing for Sandler Sales Training. Everybody, give it up for Alison Lamothe. Alison, thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Our first virtual
guest.
Yes. The only downside of being in sales training is that my schedule doesn't allow for tons of travel. And while I'd love to be with you all in real life, this is probably the best we're going to get for the next few weeks at least.
Well, we might have to. Is that an invitation to come back on future episodes?
Anytime you want me, happy to be here. With an intro like that, how could I say no?
Well, I got it from your LinkedIn bio. I'm sure you know.
Oh, good. Good.
So it is. That's where you get it from. All right, Alison, we got some questions for you, but again, conversational. Sure. We just want to pick your brain for someone that, we were able to learn a lot from, and we want our listeners to be able to learn a lot from you here too.
Oh yeah, that's great. Your kickoff.
Yeah. What was that? A couple months ago?
Already? Yeah.
Time flies.
Time flies. So many transformative techniques. That's what I know you're saying internally. Nice.
So, Alison, let's start with this one. In a few sentences, explain what Sandler's Sales Training is.
Sure. So we're a franchise of the global Sandler Sales Training Enterprise. We're based in Manchester, New Hampshire, but we work with people all over New England and, thanks to COVID, pretty much everywhere at this point. Sandler Sales Training is a realistic, non-scripted approach to training that helps salespeople, and really today, anybody who touches revenue, so that's account management, client success, sales enablement, feel more confident having productive conversations that yield action, right? Today's age of information, most buyers and prospective buyers can get a lot of the features and benefits themselves. So we're helping people have really great question-based conversations that position them as a trusted advisor and less of a vendor that just services whatever you found yourself online.
I want to know this first and foremost. Sure. What are some of the challenges and rewards? We'll go both ways, both good and bad, when it comes to training salespeople, because we're talking a bunch or a wild bunch. So what are some of the challenges, rewards for training us?
I mean, if we're talking about your team, then yes, wild bunch. It's a great question. I think the challenge period for sales and sales training is it's changing faster than it ever has before. And I also think we have more generations in the workforce working together than we have before too. So you have two things happening. You have a rapid rate of change and you have more people staying in the workplace longer. Everybody from every generation has their own thoughts and feelings about where sales is going, where it is now. So I think the biggest challenge I face in sales training is how do we get everybody understanding that we all have different perspectives, we all have different backgrounds, we all have different priorities, and that's okay. But we have to unite in the cause that we can hang on to that last piece of humanity that's needed to close the deal, right? I think everybody can find an excuse or a reason why not. It's harder to find that reason why. So really the biggest challenge is just combating the multitude of adversity reasons we have that makes sales really hard today, right? I think that's the biggest challenge. The biggest reward is when I can simplify something for someone. Because there is so much information, the flip side of that is we tend to kind of be like tumbleweeds in the middle of the desert. We just get bigger and bigger and collect more and more erroneous sales tactics. And when I can have that conversation with someone where the light bulb goes off and they're like, I can eliminate 6 steps. This is amazing. and it just, you can see like the relief washes over them. That's probably the most rewarding part for me.
I can piggyback off that because Allison helped me a ton. I did my first big sales presentation.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do in our welcome training, or I guess whatever the
kickoff training
that we did. It was a little bit different for me because my job is a little bit different than like regular, like kind of speaking sales, territorial sales. So Allison was super helpful, and I can piggyback off of I guess the reward is that it calmed me down a lot, and it made me focus a little bit more on exactly what I needed to do. So it did work.
Yay. I didn't even have to pay you to say that. Thank you.
I'm going to give you some more flowers here because you also, in our kickoff training, really kind of highlighted the different generations and the different ways to go about it. A lot of our industry is older, I would say, majority. I really wasn't necessarily thinking of it, but recently I've come across other generations, and having that tool in my toolbox definitely helped. Definitely. So
Yeah.
we're definitely here to give you your flowers. You were awesome.
It is fascinating. It used to just be you retired, right? And I won't get into all the reasons why that's not as possible as it once was for many people, but people just hang around longer, and that's okay. And there used to be a pretty substantial changing of the guard that occurred. Somebody retired and a new regime took over, and now you just don't see that as much. So navigating that on the sales side, working as a team to sell something, and then also dealing with buyers who now are bringing in more and more people into this decision-making process, it's not easy. And that really is kind of the last frontier of sales, is we're forever going to have to manage the human element of this process. It's not going to go away, right? So I think bridging that gap is what makes people feel more confident going into those conversations.
That'll be how we win the war against AI. Salespeople stick around.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So Alison, you've come across, I mentioned, countless different salespeople, different personalities, different industries. What is like the most common obstacle you've noticed that gets in the way of salespeople being successful in their job?
Are you looking for one or my top three?
Let's go top three.
Okay. The first obstacle, I'm going to say this a lot in this podcast, so just buckle up. Don't play a drinking game to it. It'll end poorly for all of us. Right? There's too much information. I think it is very easy to over prepare for a conversation these days. We've got tools like Zoom Info, AI, Copilot, any CRM out there who are trying their hardest to make information easily accessible. And I think salespeople, account management, client success can fall into this trap of over preparing. And it's not preparation, it's anticipation. It's wanting to be prepared for anything that could come your way, when the best salespeople and account management folks that I deal with, they don't know what's coming next. And that's what makes them great at their jobs, because they have no choice but to ask questions. We don't want to assume we know where someone's headed. We don't want to assume what their problem is. So I think the biggest obstacle, number one, is over preparation. It's the demise of most of the people I talk to. The second obstacle, I would say, is fear of rejection, fear of saying something wrong, or fear of losing the opportunity. There is so much pressure now that we have to keep everybody we have as clients forever. We have to win every single interaction we have. To your point about the battle of AI, I think people feel like every at-bat is going to be their last one. And that fear makes us do really weird things, right? Yeah. Maybe we get a little bit more defensive. We give a few more concessions than we should. We rely on a discount. When in reality, there's enough business out there for all of us for the most part. And you have to be so confident in your product or service that you can confidently be okay with, this isn't the right fit. I don't want to try to make this work because it just doesn't align with our values. And the last obstacle, I would say, I say this with the most love possible, in sales especially, leaders get put into leadership positions because they were the most successful salesperson, not because they're the most qualified leader. And very rarely can a top salesperson be okay with being a leader because you're no longer the top salesperson. So I see all the time, and where I spend most of my training hours is helping the leadership teams recognize to be a sales leader does not mean you are number one on the sales board and you don't want to be, you want your team to do that. So I think a lot of people get put into these positions because they sold really well, but that's in their DNA and they don't know how to help their teams do the same, which is where Sandler comes in. we help bridge that gap between let's get what's out of your brain on autopilot and into the hands of the people in a way that they can actually execute it.
I love that, because leadership is a whole separate skill. I'm sure you can attest to that. It's not about selling. It's not about numbers. It's not about data. It's not about any of that. It's a whole separate skill. And I think a lot of people get, you're right, put into positions that maybe aren't the best for them, or vice versa. And that causes a lot of frustration for people, because I know this is a corny quote, but a lot of people leave bosses, not actual companies or jobs.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably because of situations like that, where especially in sales, and people are just in a position that's not good for them. And I also like what you said. We talked a lot in our last or one of our previous shows about knowing what you don't know, and being able to tell a customer, like, hey, I don't think this is going to work. I know that people trust that, and people respect that a lot. So if you're able to provide them even with information that is, one, disappointing or not what they were looking for, but it ultimately leads them in the right direction,
Absolutely.
people respect you a lot for that.
If you look at the Gallup, I think it's Gallup, they do like a state of the workforce report every year. That's not a corny quote. That's statistically proven that people are leaving their managers, right? And that's not a knock on managers. If you're a great salesperson, someone comes to you being like, hey, we want to promote you, you're going to be like, oh, cool, I'm promoted. But that's just it. That's where it ends. And one of my biggest clients that I work with, their leadership training, they're all technically sales leaders, but we spend our sessions working on how to run a one-on-one, coaching someone through a meeting, not doing the meeting for them, time management, how to run a team meeting, how do we decide when we've done enough and we have to make difficult performance decisions. We're not talking about really profound sales leadership skills. We're helping these people help their teams, because that's the one piece that you tend to not get as a leader or as a salesperson. We give you a bunch of marketing materials and say, okay, you got it. And then you're like, but wait, I don't got it, right? So that's where that training gap really gets closed.
Yeah, that
That's
resonates.
super cool.
That resonates. In sports, they say some of the worst coaches are the greatest players, because they expect you to perform like they did, not realizing they're outliers at their position. They were the 99th percentile performer, and they look at you, who might not be there yet, like you should be there. So that definitely resonates, and that's a good point. Now, Alison, I want to ask you this.
Sure.
We want to lighten things up, okay? Because this is a conversation supposed to be, people at the bar hanging out. Is there any specific training session that stands out? And I'm looking towards more something that just you always will remember it for. And you have to name names, or Jonathan specifically, obviously. But what's a particular session that you will always remember?
There's two topics that tend to perfectly trap me into a fleet of giggles for the room. You guys both know we do a lot with the DISC assessment, which is a behavior style assessment assigned to help you understand how you communicate with others, and how to quickly bucket the people you talk to in 4 different categories. If you haven't figured it out, there's 4 styles, D, I, S, and C. Anytime we talk about the D style, people inevitably giggle, because I always forget to say, when you're dealing with D styles, you're already giggling. You can fill in the gaps there. And the other one is where we cover the technique of reversing, which is answering a question with a question. It never fails for the rest of my time training with that group. When I ask a question, they immediately go, well, great question, Alison. Why do you ask? And I'm like, okay, I appreciate that you've absorbed the technique of reversing. That doesn't mean that every question gets answered with a question from this point forward. So those two usually stand out, because I tend to get roasted the most after those 2 talking points. But I do try to make all training sessions fun and interactive, because I get it. You're busy, you're tired. You're probably like, why the heck am I here? And I want to make sure everybody walks away not only having a good time, but having learned something too.
And they were fun.
They were fun. And I like being able to break down the videos you had to kind of, in practice, see what it was. I also was way off about Taylor Swift. Sidebar, what'd you think of the MSG wedding?
It's a hot topic right now. I actually have 2 clients that you would never guess are massive Swifties, and half of them think it was a decoy, half of them think it's real. Having once lived close to New York City, I can't see New York City allowing permits to shut down that area of the city unless it was actually a real wedding. I think it's great that they got married. It means true love is real. Love is not dead. There is hope left in this world. But I also think they deserve privacy. And if she can pay $20 gajillion to get it, have at it, man. Like, she donates so much money to charity. You do you, and I'll never be able to rent MSG out for anything. So have fun.
So there are people that think that it was a complete decoy and that it did not happen at all.
Yeah,
right elsewhere.
I don't believe that, but the theories, right? If the people who have time to get into the conspiracy say you've only seen like the same 5 people coming and going out of MSG. You've never seen any other celebrities. There was only like 3 things that were photographed leaving the venue. Nobody saw the setup stuff getting loaded in. I don't know. I think people like to give her more credit than just someone who really wanted to have a private wedding, which like, doesn't everybody? I mean, I wouldn't want Entertainment Tonight broadcasting my entire wedding, you know?
Yeah, and she has so much money, but does she have that much money to shut down New York as a decoy? I think that's Bond villain level of money.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And what are you going to pay Matthew Stafford and his wife to just walk back and forth for the hotel?
I know. Or like Bradley Cooper doesn't have anything else to be doing besides getting photographed in and out of SUVs. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, she went through all these measures. There's no way it was decoy. True love is real, as you said. But I gotta say this: as a Jason Kelsey lookalike, I am upset about my snub for the wedding.
Okay, well, I was going to say you did a very Jason Kelsey intro. Like you were starting to. Have you heard his intro for guests on New Heights? Like you were starting to get up there, and like with a little bit more emotion, you would have nailed it. So you're getting close.
Inspiration. I mean, I do get inspired by podcasts, and New Heights is definitely one of them.
That's good.
Shout out Jason and Travis.
Yep.
All right. So I've had this in my mind ever since our kickoff training, and I just really got to know this specifically.
Yep.
Because this must take a tremendous amount of skill. You train the salespeople, but you also have to fill those seats.
Yep.
How do you sell to salespeople?
Lots of therapy. No, I'm kidding. It's like Inception, because when I'm going to sell to a new company, right, they're not just listening to me help them. They're seeing how my sales process works. So I'm getting graded on my ability to sell them and also what I'm saying to them about how we could possibly help. When I first started selling this, I really had to sit there and be like, wait a second, get out of your own head. You can't worry about how they're going to judge your delivery of it because you're following the system you believe in, right? The hardest part is because they are salespeople, they always want to go, oh, yeah, I get it. Just give me the details and we'll move forward. Because they just want to get right to the how much does it cost, and then we'll decide if it works for us. And I have to slow them down and say, hey, I appreciate that you understand what I'm trying to do here, but that doesn't mean that I don't deserve to still ask those questions, right? Mm-hmm. Because those middle grounds between I have a need and I'm going to work with you are really important. Understanding that pain and the full scope of what's going on is going to help me determine 2 things. One, can I actually help you? Because sometimes I do talk to companies. I'm like, we're not really going to fix the issues here. We've got some bigger things going on. And 2, it's going to help them recognize if I just take the quote for this without understanding the full scope of my problem, I'm never going to get this across the finish line. It's just not going to happen. So it's a little bit like Inception.
I like that, the Inception. So it's also, you got to practice what you preach in the sales training, because you talked a lot about the importance of asking questions, finding the pain points. And we did this exercise where you all of a sudden you had 3 questions in, you don't know where to go. And you're like, no, you need to ask more. So practice what you preach. I've always been very impressed by the people in sales that sell to salespeople, because like you said, they always say, I'm in this. I know what you're trying to do. I'm in this. I understand this. But to be able to execute is very impressive to me.
I also appreciate when I'm sitting in front of a salesperson, like, well, you know what's going on. And I'm like, I actually don't. I have no clue. Like the sales problems are different to every company. I'm like, I wish I could read your mind, but I really can't understand without you giving me more intel. The other thing people never believe is that I actually do sell. I think people assume that companies just buy sales training by the bucketful. That's not how it works. Like I still have to go through a sales process. I still get pushback. I still get stalled. So a lot of times participants are like, oh yeah, like you ever make a cold call? I did a 30-day cold calling series on TikTok so that people would see like, no, if I'm helping you cold call, I'm also going to pick up the phone and try the things that I'm teaching. That's not fair, right? I hate when you sit in front of someone who can so clearly tell doesn't do what it is they're teaching you to do. So no, I'm in the trenches. I'm cold calling. I'm sending random DMs on LinkedIn. I'm sending email blasts. I'm going to networking events. We do it all.
Pipeline is pipeline, regardless who you're selling to, right? You need to fill the
Yep.
pipeline.
Yeah.
So you talked about the difference of leadership management, development, and sales skills. And I'm wondering, are there specific qualities or traits that you see in someone that makes them a great leaders? And on top of that, how do those qualities and traits separate themselves from your either entry-level salesmen or even your high-level salespeople?
Yeah. So I think there's two really good questions in there. It's leadership and salesperson, right? I think the qualities of a leader this day and age look a lot different than they did even a year ago. A solid sales leader or any leader at this point has to be someone who is adaptable, nimble, willing to change, and also comfortable leading across more mediums than I've ever seen before. Nowadays, you can talk to your team like this over a computer, face to face, over the phone. You can text, you can Slack, you can Teams. I mean, carrier pigeon, you name it, right?
Right.
I think having that many channels to manage as a leader makes it really hard to do good time management. So I'm looking for someone who is humble enough to say, hey, I need help, nimble enough to deal with whatever changes are coming their way, able to set boundaries to empower their team to kind of figure it out on their own, and also willing to listen. I think listening is a huge trait that gets missed. If I'm thinking about a solid salesperson, I'm really looking for someone who's comfortable with change. The way we sell is changing at a faster rate than I've ever seen it before. And I've been doing this for like 10 years. So you have to be okay with changing up what you say, using different softwares and different platforms, adapting to what the market is doing. So I'm really looking for someone who's just totally comfortable accepting that I might have done things one way and that could change tomorrow or 2 months from now, but I'm ready, willing, and able to have that conversation.
Do you typically notice a change in the sales team when they become leaderships? Is it as difficult as you mentioned earlier with the top sales guys, or is it something that's kind of 50-50 in terms of it could work, it could not work? Like, what's something there when you're talking about transitioning from sales to leadership?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think it happens overnight. I think the best transition from salesperson to sales leader is one that happens with very specific graduated steps. So maybe you go from a salesperson to a team lead. We give you some time to settle into being a team lead. From there, it's mid-level supervisor. We give you a few specific folks you're responsible for. Then once we know you're comfortable with half of the team, now we bump you up to that next level. And I know a lot of people listening to this are going to be like, that's such a slow burn. I just want the promotion. I just want the pay bump. I just want that position. Mm-hmm. And I agree, but I've yet to encounter companies where they have a helpful leadership training handbook, meaning here's the recommendations for how many meetings to have. Here's how many one-on-ones you should do. These are the questions to ask. And in the absence of having that skeleton laid out, you really do need a slow burn so you don't burn yourself out in the first 3 months.
I feel like that's how you learn the most too.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's definitely a learned skill. I'm not responsible for any people, at least yet in my career. Likewise for Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't envy people that have to manage so many people. I mean, we have a smaller team here, but when you look at other companies who might have 20 or 30 people that they have to manage, I can only imagine the type of bandwidth that takes up. So I think the stepped approach is honestly the smart one. Again, it's not the quick satisfaction that you're looking for, but you know what they say often: the quick satisfaction is not usually the best one. It's the one that takes time.
You also have to ask yourself, if you are choosing the route of choosing your top salesperson to become a leader, and this is a question I pose to companies often, are you okay with losing that top salesperson?
Right.
And if the answer is like, no, then I say, this isn't the quick fix you're hoping, because they're not going to be able to sell in the capacity they're doing now. And if you're expecting them to maintain top salesperson and sales leader, we are setting them up for an early demise, right?
Yeah.
So if you as a company can't replace that top salesperson yet, we got to ask ourselves why, because we should have another team behind them that's able to carry that weight pretty quickly.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on building a succession plan within a sales team? You know, elevating your whatever performer to leadership? Is there a certain way to go about it? Is there a process that you teach in that?
I'm sure there's great processes out there. You know, our bread and butter is not succession planning. There are experts in that field who can put that together way faster than we could. My role in that process is to ask the questions nobody's thinking about, because when somebody's in that moment of like, hey, we're going to have a retirement issue in a couple of years, we're going to lose some talent soon, how do we fix this? Their tunnel vision is, I have to fill the gap. I need to close this gap before it falls back on me. So I'm usually sitting there being like, yep, well, filling the gap is important. What's worse is filling the gap with the wrong person, right? So I'm usually asking the questions of, well, what happens if we take this person out of their current role? Who's going to fill it? How long do we have to take the information from this person's brain to put it into somebody else's? Right. What happens if we hire the wrong person? What happens if we don't promote from within? So I'm usually there as kind of the devil's advocate, just making sure that while you're tunnel vision focused on saving yourself for future, we don't lose some important pieces along the way too.
I think that was one of my favorite parts about the training that we did. It was almost like, I don't want to say like therapy, but it's a similar process they use in therapy, is finding a way to swap your brain around and to like flip from the right side to the left side or the front to the back and get you to think about something in a different way that almost like kind of leaves you speechless. I know that's a practice that a lot of therapists use, and there's a lot of science behind it in terms of like reversing your brain around to get you to think about something in a different way. It's mind-blowing, no pun intended.
I think people forget too in this process of succession planning of asking and giving permission for the person to say, I appreciate you recognize me in that way, but I'm all set. I think people feel a pressure that you have to grow in your career, you have to take the promotion, but there is nothing wrong with being a great salesperson. You'll make an awesome income. You'll have great benefits. You'll get to take PTO and not have people calling you while you're there because they need help with a deal. So I think what gets lost in this process too, to your point on mindset, is, hey, do you want this position? It's okay if you say no. I'd rather you tell me no because you don't want it than to say yes because you feel like I'm expecting you to say that. Right. Same thing we did in training where it's like, let's put the success on trying something different, not just the result. We got to kind of switch our brains around to being like, it's okay to say no. It's okay to be like, I'm happy selling. I would love for you to be happy selling.
Yeah.
Live your best life.
I know a few people that actually that work for larger companies that have been promoted up to like a sales manager or even a regional manager type of thing and just said, I'm good. I want to go back.
Yeah.
And they go back to their old role and they're happy as a clam.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure in this world, and that's probably a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day. I think we live in a comparison culture.
Right.
You got to figure out what makes you happy, and then how do you prioritize around that? Now, what makes me happy is sitting on a beach, but I need to have a lifestyle that allows me to sit on that beach, right? But we have to appropriately find that motivation. And on that same note, I think everyone just assumes salespeople are motivated by money. It's rarely the case. It's what the money allows you to do, right?
Yeah.
For me, that's going to the beach. Someone else, it might be horses. I just talked to somebody today who was like, I worked so hard to hit my sales goal to get Noah Con tickets right on the floor. Like, good for you, man. Like, if that's your motivation, that's your motivation, right?
Yeah, money, you can't take it with you. You got to have fun stuff to do.
I am jealous about those Noah Con tickets.
You and me both. I'm doing ridiculous TikToks right now to be like, can Noah Con's team give me some tickets, please? Thank you.
So last night, Noah Con's in Boston right now.
Yep.
Last night, my girlfriend and I were looking, because it was raining, they had tickets for they were like $280 or like $300, and she was like, "Oh, do we go sit in the rain?" I don't want to sit in the rain and watch a concert.
Is that a good price for a ticket? $300?
Oh yeah, that's cheap.
They're like $3,000 a piece for the nosebleeds at Fenway right now.
Who's Taylor Swift?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna get hatred from you guys. I don't know a single Noah Con song.
You probably do, because he has some like pretty big New England hits that you've probably heard in passing, especially on social media. Yeah, it's nuts. Someone was like, yeah, I'm going to go pay $3,000 to Cry in the Rain. And I'm like, well, for not $3,000, I could do that in my backyard, because Noah Con's pretty notoriously sad music. Yeah.
Oh, it's sad music.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I'm a routinely positive human being.
It's deep.
It's Trump.
You call me shallow?
I'm not calling you shallow.
Listen, this is what I say. I don't usually listen to music with feelings. I'm more like you, like give me something that's just happy and bubbly. And like, I'm not a pop person. I'm like a rap, hip hop, EDM. For some reason, Noah Khan hits, and I literally wanted to be like, "Dear Noah Khan, I don't listen to things with feelings. Please give me tickets." And I thought that might work.
I like his braids. I know that he braids his hair sometimes, I guess. I don't know. That's a
Yep.
TikTok. So this question is actually inspired from Jonathan from a previous episode. If
Sure.
you could pick one celebrity to go on sales calls with you for 1 week, who would that be and why?
Well, listen, this is going to be an entirely selfish answer because I don't necessarily need somebody to sell with me, but I would have
Humble
so many
brag.
questions for so many celebrities.
Just a wingman
I know, just a wingman. Honestly,
or wingwoman.
wing person. That's probably the term we have to
Wing
use.
person. That is correct.
Yeah.
Saving all of us with that one. I think if I had to choose someone, it would be someone who could. I'm not a very serious person. Like, life is too short. I'm pretty sarcastic. You two both know that. I would need someone who was comfortable with my level of directness, because my sales process, you guys caught some of this in training, but when I'm out selling, I tend to lead with radical honesty. Like, if I see something, I say something. If I feel it, I'm going to say it too. So I think it would be hard to like be with a Taylor Swift who's used to just keeping everything even keel and being respectful and asking good questions. So I don't know. I would love to go on a sales call with like Noah Khan, because he's wicked sarcastic and has a dark sense of humor. I'd love to do a sales call with like Lil Wayne just to see what the heck is going on with that guy. He was like,
he might not show up if you have to go to Bangor.
I know he might not even show up. So that would be a good one. I'd love to go on a sales call with like Oprah. Oh my God. Can you imagine Oprah on a sales call? She would be great.
Right.
And then we'd all
Would be
get like a
unprecedented.
Prius at the end of it. I don't know. That's a good question.
I think for as much as I know you, or it's not as much as I know, I think you would make a great pair with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah. But see, he's canceled right now. So I don't know if I want to be seen with him.
Oh, he's canceled?
I'm out of the loop.
He got caught up in like a lawsuit with Blake Lively, and they said like weird things about Taylor Swift.
Oh, she
But
lost that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I didn't really follow it that much because it's like a 3,000-page legal document. Who's the other person that's like Ryan Reynolds but isn't Ryan Reynolds?
Jason Bateman?
Yeah, that
Oh,
could
you
work. Yeah,
Who's
or the
that?
guy that plays the devil on SNL Weekend Update.
Who's
Jason
that?
Sudeikis,
I'm not
I
up to
think.
date on SNL.
Oh, Jason Sudeikis. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
He would
Ted
be
Lasso?
fun.
All right.
Let's go with that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that
was
could
a good
work
one.
well. We would play off each other well.
All right, last question, Alison. Again, thank you so much for giving us your
Sure.
time and hanging out with us here and having the conversation. So for the next generation of salespeople, what would be the one thing that they have to know that they probably didn't learn in school?
Stop learning things, I would say, is the biggest one. I run into new salespeople all the time who are like, if I just read one more piece of marketing material, if I just read one more manual, one more product sell sheet, I'll feel better about selling. The reality is you got to get comfortable not knowing anything, because that's what makes you the best salesperson. If you don't know it, you're forced to ask good questions. You're forced to keep that conversation moving, which helps not only you understand, it helps paint the right picture in your buyer's mind of what's actually going on in the full scope of their issue. So sorry to teachers everywhere, but I would say get comfortable stopping to learn every little piece of information about your product or service.
You know, they do say C students make the best salespeople. That's probably why.
That was me. That was me.
Yeah.
C's straight through college.
C's get
That's
degrees, baby.
There's nothing wrong with being average.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting though, like through even school, the 2 rounds of it that I went through, they don't teach, like, sales is not a thing in college, not even at all. And even going through college, I noticed I was like, most business students end up with some type of sales related job out of school, whether that's customer service, which is like kind of related to sales, I guess.
Sure.
And they don't teach you anything about anything that we learned in our wonderful Sandler sales training. They don't teach any of it.
Yeah.
It's not included, not even at all. I mean, they do marketing and finance, and I understand like finance and things like that has to be
Economics.
like a taught thing because there's like principles that you follow
Yeah.
here or there. But it's shocking to me that sales isn't included. It's probably the most the most people out of college get sales jobs, and they don't teach you anything about sales.
There are a few degrees popping up. Actually, it'd be really great for a future podcast for you guys. Plymouth State University does have a sales degree. I think they're one of the longest running ones around here, where it's an actual 4-year degree. And there are a couple sales associations for college kids. The biggest reason I think there isn't a degree for it is because it does change so much. And not that I want to give anyone credit for having the most unique sales cycle. The way you sell is different company to company. Like how many times I'm comfortable chasing a lead is going to be different for you guys than it is for another client I'm working with. What I wish we taught more of in college is just basic communication skills, whatever degree you're going after, and not just how do you communicate better. How do you recognize how the person in front of you is communicating and meeting them at their level? Because I think we're really good at diagnosing ourselves, but I don't think there's ever any real support in figuring out the other person you're talking to, which is probably the most critical sales skill you can have.
Right. And I found the disc style thing to be super helpful. I went home and I was like, my life makes sense, because I could never like pinpoint what the way I guess that my brain went about like communicating. It just clicked for me when I did that. I like went home to my parents and my girlfriend. I was like, I get why I am the way I am now. It made, and not that I don't say that in a bad way, but I'm sure, Allison, you know what I mean.
Yes, it makes communication, which is a very gray area for many people, very black and white. So something that could go any which way possible now is rooted into 4 styles, and it makes it easier to compartmentalize it for sure. But I have a question for you guys.
Oh, all right.
Tables.
I know. Well, how could I not ask you a question? I mean, do you know me at all?
Fair.
So my question is, you started this podcast, you're interviewing all of these folks. What is the one or the most valuable lesson you've learned in your time selling? It can be at Rexcut or somewhere else.
So I think so far it is really about listening, asking the questions and listening to the answers, or we talked about in a previous episode, listening to what they're talking about, understanding you might not know exactly the answer, but you can find it, you can try it. But I think at the end of the day, if you listen to what your customer, what your account, what your coworkers are saying, that you could just get so much further than just thinking you know everything and just getting through the conversations.
Okay.
I think something we learned too when we were doing training with you and the folks at Sandler is asking the questions. And that was something that I always felt uncomfortable with, because I never knew, or I didn't feel like I knew what questions to ask. And I feel like it really boils down to, it doesn't really matter. Just asking questions in general, even if you have to ask 10 to get you where you want to be, that's okay.
Yeah.
And that kind of plays hand in hand with listening too. Sure. The more you listen, the more you're able to think and ask the questions that get you to the end goal.
Last question I have for you. You ready?
Maybe,
Never invited on this podcast again after this. No, I'm just kidding. We're not to de-genericize this, but we're filming this at a time where it's pretty common for people to want to take some PTO. And one of the things we're working on in all of our training programs right now is how do we set boundaries and actually take a break, right? Because we can't sell 24/7. We will be too crispy to do anything the right way. So how do you tell yourselves, hey, I'm taking a break, it's okay, and what do you do to kind of shut off the sales side of your brain?
I'll leave it to you, Matt.
TikTok. I love to doom scroll at night.
Okay.
But it's funny because most of my algorithm is learning about sales techniques, so there's a lot of that. Okay. But I think I like to shut off my brain by doom scrolling is one of them. I don't mind doing it at the end of the night and just completely decompressing, laughing, learning, and just completely separating yourselves from tomorrow's tasks.
Okay.
Brain rot is probably not a great answer, but it's my true answer.
Hey, that's why I watch reality TV, so you're fine.
For me, it's definitely a few things. Number one, I'm a musician, so I like to go play in my band, and I've been doing it for so long that it's one of the very few things where my brain actually shuts off and I can just do, and I don't have to think. I genuinely don't. Everybody's like, oh, that looks so complicated, it looks so hard. And it's like, well, it's like second nature to me, and my brain genuinely is like, all right, time to take a break and just do what I know how to do. The only other thing that I've ever found that does that for me to that level is snowboarding. One, because I'm so terrified that I'm going to hurt myself.
Yep.
That I'm just like, I can only think about this and I can think about nothing else.
Yep.
And every time I go snowboarding, I come back and I'm like, wow, I feel so like my head is so clear. It's because I was so focused on like, I don't want to break my leg.
Yeah, I would say your head is clear and you're not injured, which is a plus.
Yep. That I like playing fetch with my dog. I know Allison loves her dogs as well.
I do. Yeah.
It's a good time.
Well,
What about you, Allison?
Yeah.
Well, I always ask this question, especially to people who have been selling for at least a few years, because I say we all pick up some kind of grandma habits. That's not a knock on grandmas, but I find myself doing more things that she does every day. I have a vegetable garden in the summer, and I actually enjoy going out and watering it and taking care of it.
Oh, nice.
So I know.
Cool.
I can't believe I admit it publicly, but it's true. My dogs, I have two, Million Onyx, giant husky Malamutes. They don't give me a choice. They need exercise every day. So that usually shuts my brain off. And then I don't doom scroll. I doom watch every Bravo reality show I can get my hands on. So I rot my brain with trashy reality television.
Jonathan, edit out my answer in post because I don't want to be the lamest one on this pod by a mile.
I'm right there with you. I might be gardening, but I probably have like Southern Charm or some Real Housewives on in the background because I can't miss it. I have too much FOMO.
So, Allison, the floor is yours. Let anyone know where they can find you on LinkedIn, TikTok, stay on the website. Let everyone know who's paying attention is where they can find you if they're interested in sales training or anything like that.
Your best bet, thanks to the SEO powers that be, would be to Google or ask any of your friendly AI companions to find Alison from Sandler in Manchester, New Hampshire. That should get you to my LinkedIn or our website. We have LinkedIn, websites, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. It's all Sandler NH. But I'd say the easiest thing, and probably what most people are going to do if they found anything I said remotely helpful, is to go to Google. So Alison, Sandler Training, Manchester, New Hampshire will pull me right up.
It's worth it. We highly recommend it. We learned a lot in the little time that we spent with Allison. So
yeah, well, we hope to do some more. And Allison, we hope to have you on in person next time.
Yeah.
And I'll have a better answer of what I like to do. I'll get
There's nothing wrong with TikTok. It's out there for a reason, right?
I also have 3 kids. I probably just went that route.
Yeah.
Girls, I love you. I don't like TikTok.
Great family man, right?
Get off the phone. Anyway, that's it. That's the show. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, tapping in, and watching the episode. Make sure you're following us on YouTube. Make sure you rate and subscribe whenever you're listening to this podcast. And Allison, thank you guys. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Thanks
so much for having me.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
That's it. Okay.
If you like what you just saw, make sure you hit that like button. If you want to be part of Territory Talk, please leave a comment. Let us know, what is your best sales story? It doesn't matter if it happened in the office, on the road, or at home. Let Jonathan and I know what your favorite, your most important, your craziest war sales story is. And whatever you do, please smash that like button and make sure you turn on your notifications so you'll know exactly when a new episode of Territory Talk drops. And last, but certainly not least, head on over to www.rexcut.com for all your premium surface solution needs.